So sometimes you have an awesome bottle and you just don't know what to do with it. You can't throw it away. And for me, that was my first Coy Hill. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I made this. Some do's and don'ts. Made a bit of a mistake, which you should probably not do, but turned out pretty awesome, and I'll show you where I got all the parts. This light set was pretty awesome, came with a remote and even an app, so you can change all the colors and styles, and yeah, it's really cool, and turn this into something I will probably keep around forever. And so yeah, stay tuned and see how I made it.
Beat the devil out of it. That really is the fun part of this whole technique. I have more pleasure just beating the brush than anybody in the country. I have people now that write me letters and say they have no desire to paint. They just bought a brush so they can beat it and take out their frustrations. That's okay. That's okay.
So to make this awesome thing, a couple of things you'll need would be a full bottle of Coy Hill or associated thing. I got some rubber washers, nuts and bolts, a lighting system of your choice, cabling, drills, hole saw. Yeah, glass hole saw is pretty important to get a hole in the bottom of the glass. So first things first is you need to get all your components. The barrel is missing, which you'll see later on, which I got from the barrel thing, and also we need to get rid of this nasty vodka in there. So delicious. And yeah, so now let's get this show on the road. So basically, I learned this from somewhere that these glass hole things, they've got no real starter. So you drill a hole in a piece of wood and use that sort of like a template to start. Something else I saw is you get a bottle and put a hole in it. And then when you take the top off, it should leak. Now, this didn't really leak enough. I didn't put a big enough hole in it or something, but it still worked. I didn't have anything to hold this bottle. I'm using a box. That's what we're dealing with here, people. Not particularly much of a handyman, you know. Work smarter, not harder. So here we go. We're going to drill this hole with this diamond tipped hole saw thing that I got from Home Depot. So, and it's got to be covered in water, so it's going to be dribbling out of that bottle, and I've got it all purchased up there in a box for safety. So let's get this done. Drill, baby, drill. Once you get it started, yeah, that wasn't leaking, so I just poured some on there just to get it nice and wet. Once you get it started, you don't need the template anymore, and it helps a little bit because then you can see what the hell's going on. So yeah, I've got it started there. Throw the piece of wood away, get back in there and just go at it. Just don't put too much pressure, just enough pressure. Just basically let the drill do it. Tip the water on there like a freaking idiot, and yeah, keep a nice puddle of water. You don't want it getting too hot, and then nice and fast. Not too much pressure, because eventually it'll break through, and you don't want to go and smash your glass. That'll be the end of the whole game. So fast, but not this fast. This is obviously sped up because it's moving, and eventually you will get through and make a nice hole. Not quite there, a little bit more. Boom, there we go. Nice. So there we are, nice clean hole in glass. A lot actually easier than I was expecting. So buy good tools and make a nice hole. That's what I say. Dave Motto 48. So now we've got a hole in the bottom. That's where all the cabling's going to come out of to sort of hide it, come out of the bottom of the barrel. So this was an idea I had. So this is an idea I came up with, and remembering I am an electrical engineer, not a mechanical engineer, so I thought this was a good idea. So one thing I forgot to mention was the epoxy. We're using epoxy, as you can see, that was a problem, need a longer screwdriver. But using epoxy to act as the bourbon which the lights will be sitting in. So I thought, we need to seal it because the epoxy will leak out the bottom. So have a bolt go through the bottom with a rubber washer, top and bottom, to seal it up so the epoxy doesn't leak out, and then the bolt going through the bottom will act as an anchor point into the barrel. The main mistake I did make was I had it all set up, everything was good, but then I got a little bit excited at the end, and I'll show you it, and I took the bottom bolt off. Now my plan was to have 2 bolts at the bottom. One was doing the sealing while the other one would do the attachment, and I thought I'd put 2 on, but got too excited and I took the only bolt off, so it leaked. So the video you'll see here, when it looked really cool, I came back a few minutes later and it was leaking out the bottom, so I had to flip the whole thing upside down. All the epoxy ran to the top, everything worked out okay, but there is a small gap now at the bottom of the bottle with the epoxy. So yeah, that's the lesson to be learned. Don't be an idiot, don't get all excited. So basically here I feed in these fairy lights, and these fairy light things are pretty cool. Link below to them. These are great. They're waterproof, not that that really matters because it's epoxy, but they just seem to be rugged, and they have a million colors, a million features. There's an app where you can custom design anything you want. Super, super cool. So here I am. I feed it all in on the bottom to just randomly put it in. I think, you know, just a chaos fucking engine type look to it. I don't think you need to spiral it in or anything like that. It all looks pretty good. So let's speed this up because this is painful. So once you've fed it all in, it's got like a USB thing on the bottom which you plug into, so that is going to be the whole minimum hole size I need to put into my barrel. And then I need a really long screwdriver, so I found my awesome electrical 1000 volt rated snap-on screwdrivers that I've literally never used in my life, that I thought I'd be cool and buy when I was coming out of college. So anyway, put that guy in there, comes in handy, and then do up the bolt. So basically the idea was the 2 washers sealed the hole so the epoxy would not leak. And then Dave went and took the bottom bolt off because he's goddamn fucking idiot. So anyway, we're gonna have a bit of a dry run, see what these lights look like. So that plugs into a USB plug. So I had a USB extension there, and yeah, lit her up. Go up, Dave, with the camera because nobody can see. Here we go. So look at that, Coy Hill 141.2. That was a delicious bottle, man, and now that looks fucking cool. But I thought that would look cool, but it would look cooler if it would look like it was in bourbon. So that's where the epoxy comes in. The epoxy is a 2-part epoxy that I ordered, not from Amazon. I don't know if I trusted Amazon for the epoxy, so I went to an actual website that sold nothing but epoxy. And this was stuff that you want to look for stuff that is designed to be poured thick, you know, because you get stuff that's designed to be poured less than ½ inch or whatever. You want the thick stuff. So keep that in mind, or just follow the link. It was really good, and it came with transparent brown, which is you also need to keep in mind. And I got an extra transparent brown ink, a dye or whatever you call it, just to keep it all brown. I ended up deciding to put some feet on it just because it's going to be going on a glass table. So I got these feet from Home Depot. There they are there, anti-skid pads. Any sort of rubber feet, plastic feet you want. And because I was coming out of the bottom, I needed a bit of a space for the cord to wrap around. I think I will eventually change that cord out for one that has USB-C with a smaller hole. So this was my idea. This is where I thought I might have fucked up. Is how am I going to get my washer through that hole in the bottom? What I should have done is drilled a bigger hole. A huge hole in the bottom. Just drilled out the whole damn thing. And then I could have put that washer in flat and tied it up. So because I didn't, I needed to sort of put it on an angle and drop it through the top hole. And lo and behold, it worked, because right about now I was getting impatient and I wanted to get this thing done. This is how I roll. So then I had to get my little extension in this hole and do up the bolt, and it eventually did up really nice and I thought tight, but as we turned out, not tight enough. So yeah, this is, like I say, this is what I do. When I get something I need to get done, I get her done. Sometimes not the best way. But anyway, it turned out pretty good. So here's me doing up the bolt, pulling it in tight, thinking that the bottle would seal. So this barrel, the barrel is one you can get online from multiple places. I think I got this from Amazon, link below. And it is the dark stained one, which I think looks fantastic. But it's actually one to be used for, you know, aging whiskey. You put some White Dog in here and age it. I wasn't gonna do that. I didn't need that. But anything I found that wasn't a real barrel for that purpose just looked fake. So I think this one looks good. Now, do you need to use a barrel? No, this sits it up pretty high, but I just thought the barrel looked cool. But you could use any sort of plinth you want of any sort. Something that looks cool. You just need a bit of space to sit the bottle on and put the electronics below it. And the electronics consist of just that little USB plug there. So because I couldn't get it out, I got that cord. It's quite easily replaceable, so that's where I'm thinking I might change it out for a thinner cord and just come out the side with a small hole, the USB Type-C, because it's not going to be too long before USB-A is going to be non-existent. But right now, USB-A is everywhere, and so that's what I thought. And it's quite a rugged cable, which I thought would be good, but it's also very thick. So this is where I realized I needed the feet. So anyway, then we got all this going. So the next step was the epoxy. Now, I didn't get too much video of this because I was really nervous and I didn't want to fuck this up, but let's move on. So quick like, subscribe, follow, become a member. My members have been cleaning up in my raffles lately. So here I had the idea. I took a cup, I poured in 250 mils of water and I lined it. So then I knew what 250 mils was because I didn't want to, my wife didn't allow me to destroy her one of her measuring cups. So it was a 2-to-1 ratio and there is the dye. So basically poured it all in there, mixed it up. I missed the first part, but then I didn't know if I should fill it all the way up. So I didn't know whether it should look full or half full, but when I saw that, I was like, no, I think I want it to be full, look full. So mixed up a bit more, totally threw the measuring cup out the window. The old Dave Cookin measuring cup, 2 dashes of this, 1 dash of that. Seemed to work. And then put in the dye, and then I just mixed it. Used chopsticks for mixing, as you do, and it all turned out pretty well. The two colors were pretty close, and then that was it. I just kept adding drop by drop by drop of the ink until it got to a dark bourbon color that I was looking for, because Coy Hill's pretty damn dark. So yeah, it just gives it a nice sort of different look, and it's not actual liquid, so you don't actually, once it sets. Now, because like I say, it leaked and I had to flip the whole thing upside down, all of the epoxy ran to the top, so now it looks totally full. Now my plan was to eventually flip, before it had actually solidified, flip it back so it was like just thick, because it was only a mild leak, it wasn't pouring out, but it just took too long and I went to bed, and by the time I woke up in the middle of the night and went down by that time, and it was set. So is that right, Annabelle? Shush. So basically there's a slight gap at the bottom. Now if you see the bottom of the glass right there, there's a bit of a gap, but you don't notice it. It still looks really cool, and actually there's some bubbles and things going on in there that I think just make it look cool. So anyway, this is me pouring in the final level of epoxy. It took about, I'd like to say, 5 hours for it to really set up. Until that, it was very liquidy. So yeah, and then there it is. There's the lights going, super cool. There's all these moving block things. I think the red really looks good because of the red with the Coy Hill, and then you can do the whole Christmas deal. So I just love it. I think these lights are fantastic. I think I might buy a few more just for like general lighting and Christmas stuff for maybe my shelves, even my bourbon shelves. So yeah, and there's an app, and there's a not a joystick, a remote control. So in the app you can sort of program the whole anything you want, like absolutely anything you want. So yeah, this was me showing Brandy, telling her how awesome I am, and she was like, yeah, Dave, you are really cool. My God, I can't imagine I married such a cool dude. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But anyway, the white's pretty cool too. So let's cut to the final thing and let's have a look at that. And so here it is here. I think this thing looks just freaking cool. Like, you turn the lights off, it's awesome. And the lights are pretty intense. I have them dialed back to almost just a light red glow when it's sitting over there in the corner. And yeah, I freaking love it. I think I can change the cable out to something in the future. If the lights ever burn out, we're obviously done and dusted. But I think even when the lights are off, there's the app. So yeah, you can do like freaking change all the colors to anything you want. Set up different bloody procedures, listen to music, different music, you know, pulses and stuff like that. So super cool. Probably one of the best light things, all relatively cheap. Like, I think the barrel was, well, let's be honest, the Coy Hill was the most expensive by far. And whether you do this with a Pappys or whether you do this with BTAC, that's your most expensive thing. The barrel probably comes next, and then all the rest of it's relatively cheap. So yeah, comment below what if you like this idea, and let me know what you have done for crafting with bourbon. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.